response to the affirmative's points, that the recent minimum wage increase to $15 is causing small businesses to suffer, unemployment to rise, and inflation. I'd like to state the following. First of all, that minimum wage is not unfair to small businesses. And if there are some facts that say otherwise, they are being overstated by the affirmative side. First of all, the minimum wage can be seen as an advantage by small businesses. ThinkProgress.org said, a higher wage can also make it easier to recruit and retain workers, as my partner said, which can improve the bottom line for businesses. Dealing with turnover can be costly, as mentioned before. The United States Labor Statistics similarly said, academic research has shown that higher wages sharply reduce employee turnover, which can reduce employment and training costs. So again, when you're training someone, it takes about 2 weeks. During these 2 weeks, these recently employed people aren't being paid. In other words, they're losing money during training. So raising the cost, helping and retain the workers, reduces having to take this time to train them, and instead they're being able to use them in their businesses. When the law is already implemented, there's no turning back. And it's for the better. In places like San Francisco, where the minimum wage law has begun to enact, there's small business owners that speak out. CBS News reports, Hibbs, he's a small business owner, like other owners in the city that have recently passed the minimum wage hikes, are getting creative. Hibbs says he supports workers earning a living wage and isn't ideological about the issue. So, how fair is it that businesses put all that money in their pockets while their workers go home to end this struggle? San Francisco, for example, according to CBS News, an economic study published last year by the city pointed out that median rents in San Francisco have increased at twice the rate of minimum wage since 2005. So in other words, before it was even raised, their living cost was already going up. And this can very well happen in California. And this again ties back to the fairness that they're talking about, that it's unfair for businesses. Businesses, small or large, should be required to pay a rate that can provide a living wage to workers. Besides, businesses will benefit in some way. CBS News also reported, we estimate that minimum wage workers will earn about $400 million extra annually from the higher wage, and much of that will become revenue for these businesses. And the next point was loss of employment for unskilled workers. But honestly, it won't be as they state. First off, the U.S. Department of Labor says minimum wage increases have little to no negative effect on employment, as shown in an independent study from economists across the country. They claim that only people with more experience will be hired. The people with more experience aren't looking for burger flipping jobs and dishwashing jobs. They're looking for those jobs. Therefore, those jobs will still go to unskilled workers. People that have more experience are going to look for jobs that are qualified for them. And apart from that, ThinkProgress.org said that extra spending stimulates the economy, which can lead to more job growth. She also states that workers will be let go, but seriously, let's think about that. If people are making more, that means they are also spending more, $400 million to be exact. Businesses will actually have increased in revenue and will have to keep positions filled to keep their businesses running smoothly as people begin to spend more money. If it is only being seen that the wages are going up and it's becoming costly for the employers or the small business owners, I'm going to go as far as to say that the affirmative side is kind of taking a selfish perspective. What about all that money that will be generated due to the extra money that is being made? And if you don't believe me, in a 2015 report, minimum wage policy and the resulting effect on employment, the Research Institute Integrity Florida observes, economists cite several reasons why increases in the minimum wage raise employers' costs. Generally do not cost jobs. So let me say that again. Economists cite several reasons why increases in the minimum wage, which raise employers' costs, generally do not cost jobs. Increased pay adds money to workers' pocketbooks and allows them to buy more goods and services. And then lastly, to respond to their point of inflation, 0 to be exact, I'm not gonna stand up here and say that inflation has never occurred because that would be inaccurate. The fact that inflation is being attributed to minimum wage only is inaccurate. According to a paper about raising the minimum wage, research has shown that raising the minimum wage boosts customer spending, increasing the demand that drives economic growth. As I mentioned before, in places like San Francisco, the cost of living and rent is twice the rate of the minimum wage. And how is that okay? The minimum wage law that was just enacted must remain in place to prevent this from happening in California, as proved to have happened in San Francisco. Economist Benjamin Studbaker said, if minimum wage hikes automatically resulted in price increases, we would expect to see the inflation rate rise whenever the minimum wage rises, and this does not happen. According to LA Times government Jerry Brown himself said, price index would only go up less than 3% in a given year. Inflation is an overstated issue when it comes to the thought of raising the minimum wage, as I mentioned before. And the benefits that will come due to the raise are a lot greater than the negative impact that the affirmative side is arguing, and as I said, overstating. More will be benefiting than taking away negative.